together founded this, came to this new route as an entrepreneur or whatever people may call it. So it's like some fortuitous turn of events led me to the discovery of this path. And what I'm going to present today ecosystem. So it's like my journey so far as a startup, and you can also say that not just my likes and dislikes. I think going beyond that, it's something I think we should prioritize in this ecosystem. And when I use this word ecosystem, of course, it means the Indian startup ecosystem. Right? So I'll just start with this, opening line that chase the vision, not the money. The money will end up following you. I'm sure many people might have heard in one way or different. So it's just a broad outline that what exactly the startup ecosystem in India is. I'm sure many people know that. Today, startup how to start and all. So I think as far as a startup ecosystem or this framework is concerned, it's something very good, and people should definitely give it a try if they have something with them. But the major concern, what I feel around is that any startup should, by and large, solve a bigger problem of the society. I mean, should try to solve some problem. Like, for example, I have a huge regard and respect for startups like Oyo Rooms, Ola. They have really, solved a big problem. They have been a solution provider to a larger segment of the society, right? And on, this is also very important that a startup, whatever solution you are providing, it should be accessible by the mass media, right? For example, I don't know how many of you might have heard about the flying cars. There are some European companies who had been working on flying car. Let's say in the coming few years there might be a lot of traffic, so anybody they can go for a flying car. I'm just quoting a wild example, okay, here. Why I'm quoting this example here, let's say somebody goes for a flying car for, let's say, 15 to 20 cr. How many people can afford to purchase such kind of a flying object? I mean, flying car is no different from a helicopter or any other device. It's just that you have converted a car into a flying machine. The thing is that again, if you are giving a solution, which is good, but that solution is being accessed by just those 100 people only, then what is that solution? So solution, if somebody will ask me this question, solution, I mean solution which could be accessed by majority of the people, only then. I think the best example is the ongoing pandemic. If the vaccine could have only been made accessible to the rich class or super rich class or so-called people who could have just managed to get the vaccine, then what is the point in that solution? So solution should be, by and large, be accessed by the maximum people, right? And there are certain, of course, there are many drawbacks with the startup ecosystem and policies. I mean, it still lacks a proper framework. The regulations, most of the things do take a lot of time. There is a lot of paperwork. Most of the government policies which are announced for a startup, it takes months and months and even year to get some benefit from those policies. I'm not talking about the every policy, but majority of them. And of course, I'm sharing through my personal perspective also, because when I started the journey, what sort of challenges I faced, and of course, when there is this incubation, a lot of things are there, government and in our startup ecosystem, there are various solutions like incubators. So incubators, reaching out to the right incubator, most of the time the experts in the incubators are not, incubation system are not experts, but the so-called experts. Of course, I don't want to go into the, criticize someone, but I've seen people as incubators, because let me tell you something about our startup. So our startup, Blue Ocean Studios, so this particular term, Blue Ocean, has been taken from a marketing term, business management term, Blue Ocean strategy, being something unique. And that had been my approach. And ever since I did my MBA and I read this concept, I really used to, admire this concept from the people who have coined this term, that there is no fun in control C and control V. Right. So I think try to be as much unique as possible. Only then you can, explore your real self. So given the situation, if somebody asks you, I still remember one of my faculty member, teachers who taught me marketing. So there was this very nice teacher who used to teach, go with brand management. And they asked this question that, you are working in a company as a brand manager or a marketing person, and somebody comes to you and say that, you have 100 crores of budget. So can you prepare a marketing plan? And of course, everybody will say yes, right? And if somebody asks you that you have got no marketing budget, it's zero, can you come up with a marketing plan now? So that's what the real marketing is. So consider you don't have any marketing budget, and now you come up with a marketing strategy, and not just one strategy, probably 4 or 5 annual strategies and all. Anyways, even if one marketing strategy is enough, if it is, it fixes the purpose. So it's something like that, right? So it's another point is it's an immature ecosystem. I think a lot of things have been without a plan. It's highly unorganized. Even at this stage, there is no organized system in this startup ecosystem. Then most of the employees are still skeptical towards the idea what to do. And of course, most of the startups are highly unstable, because everybody knows that, out of 100 startups in India, 95 startups fail to, scale it to a defined level, or maybe they withdraw within a year or two in the market. So it's very few who actually try to make it. And this is also a challenge that almost majority of the startups, they don't get any funding unless and until they have proved them. Or even if they are in the ideation stage, it has to be really unique. And of course, there is always a chance, risk of that somebody can take away your idea. So again, I still remember a startup symposium, where thousands and thousands of applications were, and it still happens. And again, I don't want to quote any particular name, but there are many startup symposiums or platforms wherein they invite applications. Okay, and they just like a lucky draw or something, I don't know, but they draw out 1, 2, or 3 startups based on whatever data they might have received, and on whatever parameters they judge a startup. But the rest of it doesn't mean that the rest of the applications that were received by them, they were nonsense. Who knows where they have gone, to whomsoever people they've been passed, or now who is working on that idea. So I think any person have to be smart enough, to sharing their secret sauce. Right. So then something of the highlights of a startup ecosystem in US. So these are few points, like they normally try to conquer one market or one concept. Then growth is considered first. Growth in terms of maybe it could be achievements, your idea, your technology, and then of course commercialization, and then finally the investment and innovation, which is something normal with the other. This is just a kind of a code figure. Of course, this is much more higher. This is some old data a little bit. Okay, now this is a comparison between US versus India, that what exactly the contribution, uh, GDP contribution by a startup, and share of the global VC funding. So I'm sure anybody can see that where India is, it's just 5%. Now, this is something unique, which I'm sure, I don't think so, whether you might have heard about this concept, which is hard tech startups. So hard tech startup, basically, it's a term, used for any startup who is following or working on a technology that is very difficult. That sounds very difficult. So I'll start with an example. There was a company founded in, I think, 2014 or 15. It's known as Boom Technology. So I don't know exactly whether the story goes the same way, but what I've heard about, what I've read about Boom Technology is that there were three friends who used to deliver pizza. Okay, and they were running a startup. It's something of a food delivery or pizza delivery. And one of the friends told the other friend that he knows an idea. He's working. I mean, he's aware of some idea for a design of a flying machine that can beat Concorde. A Concorde was actually a flying machine developed decades back, but it wasn't commercialized because of certain issues, and it could beat the speed of sound. So Concorde can, was supposed to be one of the mega machines into the flying industry, but it couldn't be commercialized because the cost of commercialization was for Concorde was very high. And when somebody will try to take it to a speed of more than sound or something like that, at a very high speed, it wasn't stable. It used to shiver and tremble. So somehow, again, I don't know exactly, and there is no point in going into the details, but bottom line is somehow, these people landed up with NASA, and they were invited to give a presentation, the details of the design. And it was easier for NASA people, I think, to find out, that whatever they are making, they're making sense, good enough sense. And I think with some few years, their prototype was developed. And it could be identified from the prototype that whatever challenges were there with the Concorde design, this particular design has countered all those challenges. And it was a stable model. So anyhow, you can read majority of such nice details of similar startups and of course Boom Technology on Google, that I think their first working model is supposed to be delivered by 2022 or something like that. But the bottom line is that, hard tech startups, there are some unique points which, covered are, they normally take a very long time for a go-to market. Because, of course, they are working on some authentic or unique technology, which is not easy to develop. They rely on, of course, innovative products and, of course, patents. They are based on some authentic science and backed by some research. They, of course, employ some of the best technologies, or maybe they are the pioneers. Okay, that's very important. They are the pioneers of new technology, altogether an authentic technology. And once, if commercialized, of course, there is a very high risk, of a commercial use for such kind of a technology, because, of course, as the name suggests, hard tech technology. So, I mean, technologies which are almost very hard or difficult to be established, to be commercialized, to be made, to be turned into reality. And before that, of course, it sounds science fiction to many people. And of course, finally, they are able to return massive returns to the investors and people or all the stakeholders who have been involved in that project. But as I said, initially, it takes some good amount of time for them to enter the market. Now, these are some of the pros and cons of a hard tech startup. They return massive multiples of the amount which conventionally the other startups don't. Then it's a beautiful work environment surrounded by smart and ambitious people, but of course, because it's completely into some scientific technology. And of course, you are not selling a biryani or a momo. Of course, no offense to anyone, right? Of course, every startup have their, is innovative in itself. But as I said, that we are right now discussing about the hard technology. So definitely, it's great to work with such kind of a startup when they are actually working on some unique or novel, out of the box or authentic technology. And it's really great and fun, when you have that crave towards the continuous learning and development, and you get to work with an exciting work environment, really smart people, you get to learn a lot. And of course, there are not just one, two or three, there are many pros. The cons, I think it's more with the startup rather than the people associated as employees, because only when it has been established and it has been commercialized, only then more majority of the people will join that startup. So that particular negative aspect shall not be considered by the employees, because that risk factor has now been countered. And in fact, the major part of the risk factor is only when that technology has not been established or not been commercialized. Because once the technology has been commercialized, I'm sure they are creating a blue ocean, right? They are altogether creating a new market which never existed before, or they are countering the entire existing market. So whatever existing market for that particular technology product is, that overnight becomes zero, and doesn't carry any value further. And yes, this is also a fact that hard tech startups normally, need a lot of investment capital regularly. Of course, if they're continuously working on some similar technology like ours, what we are claiming. So we'll come to that later on, exactly what we are working on or what we plan to work on. And very limited, highly competitive talent pool, which is really important, which is really interesting, because just to quote an example, I was last month, I was trying to figure out someone who could be a part of the IT team here, at our startup. We had gone through something like 400 to 500 CVs. We shortlisted 10 to 12 people, and 10 people either left the company by themselves, or we had to ask them to leave the company. Because either they were not ready to work, or as I said, highly competitive talent pool is required. So they feel like, they are not ready to work this way. And that's what I think we should discuss, which is a very important aspect, is that what normally I feel like that I'm in my 30s right now, and I started my career from a great company known as Dr. Reddy's in Hyderabad. And I feel like even till now that people are, first of all, they are not clear that what they are doing, why they are doing. Things are not prioritized. During the interviews also, when I asked this question that, after your graduation into hotel management, why you are doing MBA? So many people will come up, that there was a peer pressure from the family. And some people have also replied that, they'll get settled down nicely if they are postgraduate. Different kind of answers, which are best for them. But I feel so that whatever you are doing, you should have a proper answer to that. And so should be our priorities. So as I'm discussing with you, it's like, let's say, I'll take my example. When I used to go to the interview for any company, the first thing what I used to do is I used to try to search the person who's going to take my interview on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Of course, Insta was not there. And I try to read that person so that I'm in a better position to sell myself. Okay. And because my reporting head is the first person with whom I'm supposed to work, company profile, everything comes later on. But if I've landed up with the wrong person, with whom I feel so that I won't be comfortable with this person, I think so it's not a good option for me. So once I'm okay, I will see that, okay, I can learn a lot from this person. And of course, I will meet him. I can't quote much about his or her personality, but given, that I'm convinced that, okay, the person seems to be good and it would be a great learning experience. I think the second thing would be, the job profile for which I've been hired. And the next best thing would be the brand name of the company. And finally, the salary. And trust me, I don't know people out there will believe me or not in this. I have never negotiated, while I was in my job, I never negotiated on the salary part. I used to, most of my friends used to ask me this question that why aren't you, why don't you discuss salary? I mean, negotiate on your salary. And I used to say that, see, let's say I'm getting 80,000, I'll negotiate. I might get 85,000. Of course, to the company, most of the companies, they negotiated like anything. I mean, they won't be, they're not even ready to make it 80,000 1 rupee. So I said that, see, for the company, it might mean a lot, saving 1 rupee for their entire revenue. I mean, for the entire year. So, but to me, it doesn't make any difference. And somebody used to ask me that for the company, it makes a lot of difference, but why not to you then? I said, because I feel so, I'm not done with 80,000, just making it to 85,000. There's just a difference of 5,000 only. So I can't really come up to an idea that how this 5,000 rupees into 12 will make such a big difference in my lifestyle. Yeah, if it is 80,000 or 1 lakh or 1,25,000, it does make a difference. But as I said, 80 or 85,000 doesn't make much difference. And on the contrary, what exactly my priority is my learning, my experience. I believe that I'm not doing my job for salary. I think so that I won't be able to make so much of an amount from my salary. What I'm doing is learn things as much as possible. That was my reason, I was doing job. So anyhow, this is my set of reasons. So moving ahead, what exactly people seek? So of course, they don't see money as solution to every problem. Again, this is what most of the things have been taken care of, using the personal perspective. Then they see every customer as an individual that deserves respect. They instantly focus on the company's mission and on learning. They care much more about their peer. It could be different. It could be from person to person. As I said, that these few points which I was sharing, this is my personal perspective. Now, what a startup should hold? So I think as I said, that primarily it should solve a bigger problem of the society. Another, what I feel is, it should be environmental friendly, whatever you are doing. So, because even as we are talking, climate change is a real thing. It's happening even now as we are talking to each other. We are interacting right now. And, people should speak about the environmental change very often. Because our planet is no sustainable planet. And I'm sure some way, these pandemics and all these natural calamities are related to each other. So whatever we are doing, we should ensure that it should be environmental friendly and should be honest to this work. Because I've seen companies, again, there is no point in taking names. We all know that even though, they are environmental friendly, but exactly how environmental friendly they are, everybody knows. And of course, human values. That's very important. Then certain examples. Thanks. So moving on to the next presentation. It's been half an hour. So let's take certain questions from this. Anybody? Or hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dashrath, or should we continue with the next part of the presentation and then we should take the questions?
I would suggest let's complete, then we can pick a few questions. Meanwhile, one of the requests is arise that they also want to know about your startup and how it works. And
yeah, I'm coming to that.
What made you to start that and how it's contributing to the society? That also people want to know.
So I'm coming to that only. So is this visible?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So I'll just cover it through this small presentation, which is about Glamira. It's one of our brand concept. And let me tell you something about our startup, our vision, and then we'll move on. So we are actually, it's of course in the pre-development phase. So we are working on a technology that can control any animal or plant cell. Okay. So we are saying that, let's think about a condition known as cancer. Everybody knows what is cancer, right? It's an abnormal growth of a cell, right? Now we are saying that first question is what triggers cancer? Cancer can be triggered in any part of the body. It's a condition, first of all. I'm sure people know that. It's not a disease, it's a condition which is triggered by certain, reasons. Okay. If we can figure out those reasons correctly, exactly if we can understand the science, we are actually trying to claim to the scientific world that cancer could become a boon, not a bane. So consider, if I can induce a cancer in plants, or if I can induce a cancer in an amputated limb, or if I can induce a cancer in, in a damaged organ, what wonders it can do, right? So my simple question when it came to my, several years back when I somehow came to this was that, it's like a puzzle. Cancer is actually a puzzle and you need to solve this puzzle. It's one of the most difficult puzzle and you have to solve it in the way it has been asked to human mankind. And once this puzzle is solved, it could actually be of lot of value to humans. So it's like an uncontrolled science, and if you can control it, but again, this if everything goes with this if you can control it. But of course, I think everything starts from the vision first. So that's what we are working upon. We are dedicatedly working, and we have to go with the best scientific team with whom we can actually communicate what are our findings about this science we are working on, how it is different and unique from the rest of the world, and so far what we have decoded about this, everything, a lot of things are there. It has been, as of now, all these things what I'm discussing about, what I'm not discussing about, it's in the form of just intellectual property, patents and all, right? What we plan to do immediately is to raise enough funds, revenue, as much as possible, and to invest in them and develop a working prototype of what we are talking about. We are confident that what we are talking is not just science fiction, but it is sensible. It's sensible, it can be done. And if done, it could be the technology of tomorrow because it could be applied at number of places and areas. But yes, right now, since because it's just it's in the form of a written, and some proven formulas or something like that. So we might get an award or recognition based on certain patents or some publications. But I think the real award and recognition is when we actually develop this technology and we can see happening, we can save, not just save human lives, but what we are saying is that we can apply the science in a controlled manner anywhere we wish to, right? So what we have done is we are trying to implement this in one of the areas, into the wellness industry through a different way. And of course, one of the motive is to make revenues. So this is something about the intellectual property we are talking about. So Glamira is one of our brand into the wellness industry, and we plan to actually in the near future we actually wish to develop this technology and plan to use into the skin cells, that if we can hold down the aging process also, because we are seeing that we can control the growth, okay, of any animal or plant cell. So can we hold down the aging process with this science? So that's what we are trying to do here. So Glamira is the name of the brand, and we plan to use it into the modern aesthetic industry. And of course, not just to test also, but at the same time to make more revenue. So that could be pumped into the major research part. These are some of the achievements. This is a DPIIT certificate. This is the Startup in UP certificate. This is the MSME certificate, Ministry of Small, Micro, Medium Enterprises, as the recognition for the outstanding accomplishment in the field of healthcare. Then these are some other recognition as amongst 50 startups and all. Okay, some media coverage and all. So first to market ease of use, problem solving, something we're just trying to highlight that Glamira is not a cosmetic product. It's a unique novel concept we are working on. So we think that all the in fact it's a fact that all the makeup products you see around, they are just camouflage products. So makeup products are actually not helping your skin in any way. In fact, they are deteriorating your skin. And I don't know whether how many people know that most of the chemicals in the makeup products, they are hormone disbalancing chemicals. And of course, many of the chemicals are non-biodegradable chemicals. So in any case, makeup products, beauty products, majority of them are not helping people out. And majority of the companies also use these marketing gimmicks like natural, herbal, and organic. I don't know how many people are actually honestly doing them. But just by using this EQ, emotional quotient of people, because there is a strong EQ related to these words, like again, as I said, natural, herbal, and organic. Majority of the companies, they try to sell you nothing but probably pains. You're not getting any gains from them. And this is one of our motive that, between making money and creating value, we choose both. So, as I said, we are working, we were recently identified as a hard tech startup. In fact, not recently when we started our journey as a startup. So, I think I like this company recognized as not just to become insanely rich and to go for an eye-popping valuation and exit. It's about how you create a value, and people should recognize you. This name Blue Ocean should bring in a lot of huge respect, and not just respect by the normal people, but all across in all the scientific community, everyone. So we are working on that sort of a science. It might take time, but we are determined and we are confident. So that's it. Now, if I think anybody wants to go for any question.
Yes, we received a couple of questions. Wonderful. It's a wonderful presentation with a lot of knowledge. What we this one. So the couple of question. What is Mr. Apar? Can you just showcase your first slide or one slide? Otherwise, if you can switch on the camera, any one will do. So we can just address.
Okay, which slide you want?
Any slide, so students will get the first slide will do.
You want the second part?
Anything will do. Anything will do. First slide or second slide, yeah. Okay. So you can just put it into PPT mode.
Yeah.
Sure. ठीक है, we have received a couple of questions. The one of the question that a very general question, which comes from a student, that what kind of a startup I should start. That has asked by one of the students. I think it's more of a general question. I would request you to address it in a very general manner and help him.
See, what's the name of the person?
Suraj.
Suraj. So Suraj, hi. So I think whatever startup you should go for, first of all, identify your skills. I mean, for example, you have a very strong and passion into the food industry, and you are going for a startup into the, automobiles. So that doesn't make any sense. Then I think you should come up with a food and beverages based startup. I mean, try selling some food item. I mean, a hot dog or a burger, could be anything. Try to reinvent a burger or a pizza. Okay. I mean, come up with something unique and different, because, food and beverages, I'm just quoting an example of the records, by the way. I mean, food and beverage is one of the most happening area in a startup ecosystem. Majority of the investments are, done into the food and beverage industry. It's very few startups into the healthcare domain which actually attract people, because first of all, the lack of interest and lack of proper knowledge. I still remember, when we used to approach some of the incubators and VCs, and I still recall very recent meeting from an incubator, and it was not exactly about the incubation we required. We required some support from the state government, and the person was having his breakfast, like we are interacting right now. That person was having his breakfast in front of the Zoom meeting, and it was like, in the vernacular language, the local language he was talking, that you go on, I'm listening, and meanwhile I'll have my breakfast also. And what the next thing I have to do is that, if he was not even comfortable with the English words and the technical words of the science. So I said, sir, I think we are wasting time for each other, and let's call it off. We have come this way. We'll move ahead without such kind of. I think it's you who need the incubation. It's not us who need the incubation. Anyways, so Suraj, look out for a startup, but don't try to be a daredevil startup. So daredevil startup, as I was discussing, that it's just to become insanely rich. Again, I don't know about your plans or ideas in your life. Everybody wants to be rich, but as I said, it's good, of course. Yeah, I mean, everybody wants a good and luxurious life, but not at the cost of deteriorating, the quality of life for others. As I said, by and large, it should solve some kind of a problem. Should be something meaningful to the society. That's what, again, my definition is. So that if you are asking this to me, I would suggest there are thousands and thousands of unaddressed, problems in this world. Just figure out any one. I'm sure you'll make a lot of money, but aside to money, you'll create some difference also. You'll create a value also. I think my grandfather used to say this to me, that it's very easy to make money, but it's really challenging to earn respect. So I think that's really true, right? So yeah, try to go with that. Any other question?
Thanks, Mr. Apar. So I think it's a wonderful point actually. Suraj, Mr. Apar is trying to say that try to address some need of the society or the country, or some pain points. That's where the startup can help and grow. Okay. There's a one second question. It has come, sir. What is the right time to go for a startup? Is it a right after my education, or should I go for a couple of year experience, then I need to start?
So beautiful question. So I'll quote an example. Okay, here. So I recently, some trainees were taken from an online, internship portal. It's very happening and famous these days. And some of these trainees, they didn't had even basic etiquettes. Basic etiquettes, I mean, if I'm calling someone or the concerned HR person from the company is giving them a call, or any, team member, or lining up any meeting. So they didn't have even basic etiquettes. I mean, they are having food, they are having some, because it's a work from home right now. The entire country is facing, I mean, it's some unprecedented times the country is going through. And I do understand, even right now, I'm also at my home. But there has to be some decorum, some etiquettes, right? Some manners, some discipline. I think that's important in life. And it's not only that, they don't even know how to greet people. If I'm saying hi or hello, I think the other person is supposed to reply back with same gesture, right? And not just that, probably most of the time people are not even clear what to do, what exactly the same question what you are asking. And then, the other important things like the email etiquettes, there are a lot of things. They don't have a proper communication training, how to communicate to people, what to talk, what to speak, what not to speak, what to do, when to do, where, why, when, how. I mean, people are completely ignorant in most of these areas. In fact, all of them. And the best way to counter all these problems is experience, work experience. So I think work for few years, and nobody will decide that how many years. It's only you who can decide that, judge that. You are the best teacher for yourself. And I personally even believe this also, when I used to be into my service, uh, majority of the companies, they spend crores and crores, millions and millions of money in the training, learning, and development. I feel some set of the skills are given by Almighty like that. So if somebody is a good marketer, made for marketing naturally, how can you put them into the HR domain? And this happens very frequently, very commonly in companies. They hire and they fire, which is, I personally feel, is not the work of an HR. If you're hiring someone and if you're firing someone just because he or she is not performing, so I think that's not good on you rather than that person. Because it depends, it shows how good are your decision making skills and analyzing skills. And probably, before firing, you could have identified the real, skill set for that person. That maybe that person was not made for marketing, he or she was made for the HR and similar things. Because you can't train someone. These people are trained, naturally. They are born with some skill sets. You can just refine them. I might be a natural marketing or a research person. I might have been, I might have met some people who identified those skills and just refined them, gave me a proper good direction. That's it. Right. Again, but see, these are my personal thought process. I'm not saying that you go with that. You are asking questions. And as I believe, these are based on my personal experience. So I think the best way for any person who is a fresher is that have some, take some good experience, whatever area you wish to, and do a planning. It's not that, by, hit and trial, you go into the market, you'll work and whatever idea. I think planning is good. Whatever area of interest you are having, just try working on that and seek a role into that similar area. For example, your, area of interest is into automobiles. So you could seek out a role into a similar industry. And once you feel that you have that required experience, then of course you can go for a startup.
Wonderful. This is addressing a couple of other questions also. When, how, and where to start. We have one more question. This is the more what do you call, frequently asked, or the more I don't know. So is it a more important question, or how it to be rated or addressed? He's asked Manish, student name. He asked, sir, how to look for funding or the financial help for the startup, and how long it will take to sustain a startup on self-sustaining.
Manish, right. So Manish, when you are approaching for a funding for your startup, I don't know about since because I don't know anything about your startup. So consider a case where your startup is extremely lucrative. The idea is really attractive, unique. But even then, see, the investors who are, having a big wallet. So there are majority of investors who are just people with, a lot of money, but they don't have that amount of knowledge and all. So they judge based on whatever knowledge. I mean, by this I'm trying to say they're not the experts of those industries. So whatever knowledge they are having, they might misjudge you. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that, for example, your startup is into food and beverages. The first thing is try to approach those people who actually and only invest in food and beverages. That's the first point. Then if your idea is really good, and if you are into the ideation stage, so first of all, identify in what stage you are. Let's say it's just an idea, you might have started something. Make a good pitch deck. An attractive pitch deck is one of the important tools to approach any investor. It helps, that's like a CV, a resume for your startup, a pitch deck, right? And approach the right people. That's very important. And seek out, a seed funding before looking out for big revenues. So try seeking out to an angel investor. Try to go for a seed funding. Always remember that whomsoever you are approaching, your startup should be able to, quantify at least 50 times of what they're investing. So if they're investing, let's say 50 lakhs, your startup should be having a capability of turning out to 25 lakhs minimum returns, because that's what they are out there, right? They're just there to multiply their money. And of course, as I said, that a healthy pitch deck is very important, because that pitch deck will actually will define what exactly your plan is about, what is the framework of your startup, when do you plan to exit, what is your revenue model, what is your business model, and all other things. And of course, a very important part is the intellectual property. If you feel like that your ideation has a good worth for an intellectual property, then we should also go ahead and, procuring an intellectual property in the terms of patents or copyrights and all. Because that will also help you in not just getting the funds, but also, saving your, it's like protecting your idea, so that even it goes into the wrong hands. First of all, it shouldn't go into the wrong hands, but even so, though if it has gone into the wrong hands, at least the damage can be countered.
Thank you, Mr. Apar. We have one more question. I'll take this one and next one question before we ending the session. The one question has come that, sir, can we do some education or courses after degree which can help us to start a startup?
Yes, you can. There are many such companies, and in fact startups, and not just startups. There are people who are like startup experts who can give you. But I would still suggest, that these kind of symposiums or workshops. Again, it depends on people to people. If you're a fast learner, you think so that you are natural. I've seen people who have just started their, gone with their startups just right after their education, and I would definitely call them successful. They've started making money. I mean, consider that I'm just on the, the development phase, and I've seen startups who started in the same time period when I was planning with the other founders, and they've started making money. So I would suggest yes, but that again, that's you who can decide. Nobody else can guide. Judge you on this parameter. But if you feel so, that just by taking few workshops and classes or similar kind of activities, you are confident that you can go for a startup, you should try. But I would still suggest that at least an year or two, years of work experience might come in handy. Because when you are a startup, you're an entrepreneur, right? And you don't know that unexpectedly or expectedly what things might come up. Because trust me, this journey is very challenging. A journey as an entrepreneur is very challenging. So you should be prepared enough for any kind of a challenge, how to deal with those challenges. And in so doing, you know your knowledge and experience as the basic tool that you have to use to counter those challenges. And if you feel so that you are confident enough and you are strong enough to go with that, and you are already backed up by an investment, I mean, what normally we use the term bootstrap, I mean, through your family, friends, and relatives, because the majority of the challenges are countered through funds, right? Unless and until you are very creative and innovative, and as I said, that you don't have any money, and somebody asks you this question, that prepare a marketing plan without having any marketing budget. So if you are so creative and unique that you can come up with any answer to a challenge without wasting a single penny, then of course you go ahead with that.
Uh, Thank you. I'll take one more question. We have a question from Rajat Arwadkar. From his question is that at the current situation like pandemic, what problem could be addressed or what kind of a startup can be started? More of a general question. I think still you have a point to ask.
I think pandemic is going on, people are stressed. So that is one area, but that has been covered in the past by many startups and companies into the mental, well-being and health. But I think a lot of people, lot of young generation, kids, infants have been orphaned in this pandemic, and I don't know how many will. Because the new virus, it started hitting the people who are in their 30s and 40s. So why not you make a startup which contacts the NGOs, or people who are willing to adopt. This is just an idea because you are asking. Who are willing to adopt, or who can adopt these orphaned kids, and they can be raised in good families. So you are helping the society also, and I'm sure it's a recognizable startup also. I'm sure you make a nice pitch deck, of course, off the records. You want any help in this, I can get you a pitch deck for this. But anyways, I think that would be something very noble also. So besides making money, you are making a lot of blessings also, which don't come often in business, right? And I'm sure blessings go a long way, good blessings. So as I said, that it's not just to become insanely rich, but rich in human values. And if you could recollect, that was one point I covered in my previous presentation, that any startup or any company, I think human values should be one of the core aspects. So like that, yeah. Any other question?
That's a wonderful thing. We are wrapping up with the webinar. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Apar Gupta for taking out his time and uh, supporting us with multiple tests and other things. Thank you so much, sir. It's been wonderful having you, and we could see a lot of information and the inputs are given to the students related to the startup and how to do it. And it's a different way to look into the startup also. Thank you so much, sir. And at the same time, I would like to thank students and other college participants who representative of the college to be part of attending the webinar to learn and help yourselves. We'll come back with a couple of more webinars in coming weeks, and we'll continue. Thanks for joining. Have a great day. Stay safe.
Yeah, just one request to everyone that if anybody wishes it, in fact, it's a request if people can support us for the cause or the science for which we are working. I would really request if they can follow us on our Instagram page and LinkedIn page and make it more viral and contagious than the coronavirus itself, because definitely it's not COVID, it's something really good we are working on. So, I used to read this quite some few years back, that inspiration and motivation is more contagious and infectious. So let's try doing that. So guys, it's my humble request to everyone out there who had been listening to me. If you really, liked whatever I was speaking, And if you can really support us, then please do, share, like, and follow and share our LinkedIn and Instagram page. And aside to that, if anybody wants to know something about Glamira or the science we are working on, something unique, I'm sure there is something unique for everyone out there. It's a wonderful technology we are working on. So they can reach out to me either directly or either through my LinkedIn or the company page. They can reach out to me. So it would be great fun and learning experience. Would be great if I can learn from you guys. And of course, we are also looking out for people into different domains, either internships or as full-time employees. So, people who are looking out for such opportunities, definitely they can contact me for this. And thanks once again for this platform.
Thank you so much, Mr. Apar. If you have your link or URL, you can just post it in this comment. What we'll do is we'll send across to that, post that into your YouTube and other channels, so students can connect back to you and take some more guidance for them.
Yeah, sure. So let me just give the page. So this is the Instagram page.
Yes, same been shared with our viewers and the team.
And just in case if anybody wants to check the website, and then finally this is the
Sounds good. Thank you so much for your time. It was wonderful having you.
yes.
I will share that details again to students. I'm very sure that they're eager to contact back to you with some help and the guidance. I'm very sure that you'll definitely do that. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Everybody, be safe, stay safe. You know the guidelines and the need of the protocol. Please be safe and keep your family safe. And have a great year. Thank you.
Thanks, Asha. Thanks, everybody.